open the door. Please, come out. This story happened a few years ago. I was in my early 20s and was studying in Paris, France. I was going home from uni. I usually took a short bus ride and walked the rest of the way. That day, I felt slightly uncomfortable. I could sense some guy looking intensely at me. I was used to unpleasant, unsolicited gazes, but this time, the gaze felt beastly. It's hard to explain why, but I felt like prey being stalked. I decided to get off the bus a few stops early. I wanted to avoid him and didn't want him to see where I usually got off. Like I learned in the movies, I waited until someone else pressed the stop button and waited until the last moment to stand up and leave. I didn't notice him getting off the bus. Just as I was feeling the relief of having escaped an uncomfortable situation, I looked over my shoulder, and there he was, a few meters behind. I had the distressing feeling his eye had just looked away the moment I turned. I walked into a shop, took my phone, and pretended to be taking a call. When I couldn't see him anymore, I exited and made my way home as fast as I could. I kept looking back in the busy street. I zigzagged, crossed the street at every crossing. And finally, I believed that him getting off at the same stop as me was just a coincidence. When I reached my building, I looked back one last time, and there he was, his alarming gaze on me, smirking. I ran up to my apartment, climbing the stairs 4 at a time. I reached the top floor, squeezed through my door, locked it, and froze. My intercom was ringing. Don't ask me why I picked it up. I regretted it the moment I did it. I could hear the opposite flat intercom ringing as well. He had pressed all the buttons, one by one, hoping someone would open, but now he knew my name. Gabrielle. I felt like a deer in headlights, frozen. Gabrielle, open the door, please, said a pleading voice. I just want to talk to you. Somehow, I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Come to the window, he added. Look at me. You'll see. I'm not a bad guy. Something clicked. He wanted to locate my apartment in the building. I was not going to make that mistake. I hung up in shock. I waited by the door without moving for what seemed like hours. When I finally managed to calm myself, I called my long-distance boyfriend. He told me to call the police. Why didn't I call the police? I don't know. Today it would be the first thing I'd do. The fear of making a big deal out of something not important was probably the reason. I called my best friend and said I didn't want to feel alone. I told her all about it, and after a while, I felt better, safe. We started laughing, and then suddenly, the intercom rang again. 2 hours had passed since I'd come home. I answered. Gabrielle, said the voice. Open, please. I still remember the chills I felt. He was still there. He was there all this time. I was silent and petrified. He was silent, but I could sense his trepidation. "Gabrielle, let me in. Just give me a glass of water, please. I'm thirsty." I hung up. I curled up in a corner in fetal position, terrified. I waited. I was scared to make a sound. I knew he couldn't hear me from the hall, but I was scared to even breathe. The intercom rang again and again. I didn't answer it this time. I crouched to the sofa and fell asleep in exhaustion. I heard the intercom ring one more time in the middle of the night. I woke up in the morning, afraid to leave my apartment. I called my dad, who came to pick me up. There was no one in the hall, but there was a note in my mailbox. It read, "Gabrielle, I am a nice guy. You should have opened for me." We immediately went to the nearest police station. The police listened and of course told me that I should not hesitate to call them. My dad called a locksmith to install digicode on the building door the same day and wrote a message to each of my neighbors asking them to not open the door to anyone they didn't expect. He sat in the cafe in front of my building with two friends every evening for more than a week. After that, I never saw the stalker again.